Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. I'm your host Dan Jones, joined as always by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow and Team Bike Exchange head DS Matthew White. We're going to rip straight into it, guys. Whitey, you're on the ground there at the start of stage 4. What's the weather looking like at the moment, mate?
So average at best. It's coming. It's blown in and out a few times this morning, but we've had torrential rain and then stopped, and it's really windy. I think we've got 30 km/h block headwind to start the day, but it's going to be 15 degrees at the start and get colder, maybe 9 or 10 degrees when we get closer to the mountains. But it's going to complicate things, that's for sure.
How many times have you used the phrase "no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing"?
Not recently, and I certainly didn't drop it into today's team meeting.
No. What's the mood like in the camp, mate?
Good. No, it's good, mate. It's these days. Yesterday turned out a lot less trickier than expected. You know, it was pretty hard rain and at the start of the day, but the tricky part of the stage was the final, and we actually had totally dry weather. So that did change the dynamic of yesterday's final. But I think there's I haven't seen. I've been looking for different weather forecasts, and I haven't seen one that gives us anything but torrential rain and windy conditions. So that's what we're going to get. But the mood's good. It's the first test with the GC guys today, and we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Iffy?
Yeah, so before we get on to today's stage, because I'm excited, this is the first day for the big hitters, for the GC boys to really test themselves. But I just want to get your thoughts on yesterday, because we're all raving about Taco Van der Hoorn. Haven't heard that. Is that a common Dutch name, mate?
I don't know too many tacos over the years. Maybe he has Mexican heritage. I'm not sure. He's been around a while. He was on Jumbo Visma for a couple of years, and I think he's 6 or 7 year professional. Won a stage in Big Bank Tour before, so he's won at the World Tour level. But by far, that was his biggest win, and what a win it was. That was a hard day out there in the office there, and to stay away from a chasing peloton in the way he did, that was a very, very impressive ride.
Yeah. Even though he
started the break, he actually was the one who launched away on his own, and they all came to him. So out there all day, and to finish it off like that was staggering. I mean, I even at 3K to go, I thought, oh, the poor bugger's going to get caught in the last K. I didn't think he'd hold him off.
Yeah, I think also there was some timing issues with a few of the sprint teams. He could have been caught, that's for sure. At the top of the last climb, I think he had 28 seconds. That wouldn't have taken too much from a couple of other teams just to put one rider on the front just for a minute or two to help Bora, and everyone did load the expectation all behind Bora and their willingness to set Peter Sagan up. But a couple of the other teams who ran second and third really should have a good long look at themselves, because that break could have been brought back. There was one leader at 30 seconds, and then some of those teams just left it too late and didn't get that opportunity for a stage win for their leader.
Yeah. Does that cause a bit of burning friction amongst the teams so early in the Grand Tour with stages like that, where they, other teams should have worked, and they sort of stall that for a couple of stages moving forward?
Yeah, I think Bora probably will have second thoughts about committing on a day like that if they don't get any help. Alpecin helped. It was strange. Alpecin helped them for a certain section of the race, and then when the climb started, that has disappeared, which is strange because maybe we don't know. We don't have the context of all the different team meetings and all the different scenarios with the team leaders. Maybe the leader from Alpecin was on an off day, and after they hit the climbs, they decided to stop the chase. But
Merlier got dropped with Caleb and Groenewegen at 40 odd K to go, so they got spat. That's why they stopped working.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any other Alpecin sprinters in that front group, but there was Viviani was there with Cofidis, and there was other guys who were clearly ready for that sprint. Look, a lot of the pure sprinters weren't there in the finish yesterday. It was going to be always going to be borderline for those guys to get through the stage, and they didn't. But as we saw there was plenty of sprinters still left, and that break was controllable in the final.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that? Gaviria and Viviani are there now. Normally, Caleb would climb Well, he climbed as well as Viviani normally. It doesn't look like he's quite on his form yet.
Yeah, look, it's early in the race. I think the big thing with Caleb there, he's probably, definitely, he's never had probably this least race days in his career at this time of year. So, Caleb's always been one to do the Aussie summer, which he didn't do. And so he's missing a big chunk of racing in January, February. And maybe he's just a bit slow to get going here in the Giro. I know his plan is to ride all 3 Grand Tours, the Giro Tour and the Vuelta. So I'm sure he'll come good in the next couple of days. But I think for me, that for him, he's got a lot of race days down on his usual schedule.
Yeah, Bay Crits, mate. He's missed the Bay Crits.
That's what it was.
The missing link. That is the missing link.
Hey, getting back to talking before about, the game of chess in the cars and that, what annoys other teams the most? Because, geez, I remember one stage when Michael Matthews had the jersey and the other teams wanted you to commit. And you said, hey, guys, we're not interested in the stage. We're not interested in the jersey. And he goes out and wins and beats Cadell. I remember teams were filthy the next day. Is that the single most thing that pisses other teams off the most? Blatantly lying?
Well, in my fairness, on that day, Jonesy, it was a hilltop finish. We had the jersey for 7 or 8 days, and with a few of the boys were on their knees, and sometimes you've got to call teams bluff. And Michael had an exceptional ride, and obviously there was that big crash at the bottom of the climb. We only 8 guys got through the crash, and we had 3, Durbridge and Santa Marita. But sometimes you've got to play chess, and we had you were with me at that Giro d'Italia, and we did really control the first 8 days of that race single-handedly, and we thought, enough's enough. Teams weren't helping us out in those price stages, and we had some luck that day. Well, we also had some bad luck. I think we lost 2 or 3 guys, broke some bones, and ended up going home at that crash. But we also had a big win when Michael did beat Cadell Evans on the top of that hilltop finish, but without pulling 1 metre on the front.
I remember it well because I was chief of security on that Giro.
Oh, yeah. You're hopeless.
And I remember I had to keep some of the other sports directors away from you the next morning because they were coming to throttle you. But anyway, another story.
It doesn't matter when you win. No.
It was that was the Giro that it went pear-shaped there at the end, didn't it? We only finished with 2 riders. So
that's right.
Yes.
Won 3 stages, had the jersey for 9 days, and finished with 2.
It was
never a dull moment in that Giro d'Italia.
Who finished that one? Happy
and Swain.
Happy and Swain. Yeah.
We've got a fan question. It's a pretty obvious one. It's from Wilson Hatton. He says, Whitey, how is Simon feeling?
Good. No, he's good. It's like a lot of the GC guys, these first couple of days have just been about mitigating risk and staying out of trouble, conserving energy. But today there's no hiding because of the technicality of the final half of the race and some pretty tricky descents. And obviously, when you have a climb like that, basically to 2 kilometres to go, we're going to see who's got form later this afternoon.
Iffy.
Yes. So talking about today. So what are your thoughts? It's going to be pretty hard to control. You've got like 70 kilometres of flat before you hit those hills. Who's going to be, a break will go, who's going to try and control it, or will they just let it go?
Oh, I think most of obviously Ghana will not be in the jersey this evening. So I think all the GC teams are back to square one. I think they'll want a small break to go. Today's not the day to go up the road when you've got 70k of headwind to start the stage and it's all flat. So I think all the GC teams will want the same sort of scenario to happen at the start, a smallish sort of break. And then there'll be probably a bit of a Mexican standoff there to who is going to control the middle part of the race. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Quickstep take it up today and try to put Evenepoel in the jersey. He's pretty close. Also, another team that's probably pretty interested today, probably Astana with Vlasov as well. There's only seconds between those guys, and neither of those guys have led the Giro d'Italia, and I dare say that those two teams would be the key teams looking to pop their leaders into the pink today.
And another very important question. This comes from Simon Heavey. He says, come on, Whitey, surely passed the last night.
Well, I've got a little story last night. It was risotto, actually, but due to the hotel we were in, we took it upon ourselves to eat in our rooms or in the or in a special lobby area, because we had to actually eat at a hotel. At a restaurant across the road, and there was let's say the bubble could have been easily compromised in that situation.
Okay.
So the riders had a room, but it wasn't big enough to fit the staff. So the staff ate. We had a little takeaway dinner last night, and half the staff ate in their room, and then a small group of us ate in one small little room just between the 6 or 7 of us. So no pasta, but there was a very nice risotto. Thank you.
Oh, very good, mate. Anything want to add, Iffy, before we let Whitey go?
Well, yeah, because what do you think? What's your plan for today with Simon? Is he actually going to have a go for the stage?
Oh, I think if the situation arises, we'll go for the stage just because we'll have to. Because I think there's going to be a selection between the best climbers here, and if that situation does arise, well then we'll take it. But it's not a day that we'll be looking to control to enable that. If it happens, it happens. But the key focus for us today is to get Simon through safe with these GC rivals, and if a stage opportunity does arise later in the day, then we'll take that opportunity. But it's certainly not the focus for us to win the stage today.
Because it's a pretty solid day. You've got 3 coals.
Very solid last 80. There's a lot of meters of climbing and a lot of technical roads.
Yeah, exactly.
In that last 80k.
A lot of climbs that not even categorised in there. But that Col de Pasolino, the final one, it looks very steep on the maps. How steep is it?
Yeah, as ramps of 15%. So there'll be no hiding. There'll be no hiding on there. It's a short climb, 4 to 5 kilometres off the top of my head. And I said that it tops out at 2.2k or something like that to go. Downhill and flat to the finish. A little tricky finish into a town with clinkers and pave, and it's a technical finish, but we're going to get some big gaps today in the peloton, and it'll be interesting to see how much of a selection there is for the key guys today.
Well, if there is a break up the road, and as you said, there's torrential rain, will it almost be like borderline neutralised for a lot of the GC teams if it looks pretty dangerous, or do you think they'll just go for it?
No, I think someone will want to take control through those sections, because it's not sometimes it's better to take control and be on the front than have someone dish it out to you. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a team take it up even far out, just purely for position. And I think Evanpool's a pretty ambitious young fella, and I wouldn't be surprised if Quickstep are the ones that do that today.
Yep. All right, mate. Well, all the best for today, and we'll check in again tomorrow, and hopefully you've got a bit better situation at the restaurants and you don't have a potentially compromised bubble.
Yes. Yeah. So we got it sort of ruins eating risotto out of a foil container, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's in Italy, mate. It's still probably 10 times as better than what you get back here. So
it's not too bad. Good. It's not too bad. No, we got a sprint stage tomorrow, and one day at a time. And it's starting to rain on me right now, so I'm get under cover and jump in the team car.
Good on you, mate. All the best for today.
All
right, see you, gents.
See you, mate.
Yeah, talk tomorrow, pal.
Matthew White there. What are your thoughts on what Whitey said?
Yeah, he's pretty calm and collected there. I thought he'd be getting a bit nervy, as he does when the big days come up, but he seems pretty cool, calm, collected. I mean, that's why we started so late today, because he had a big drive to get here to the start. But yeah, look, I think he's spot on. I just think that Van der Hoorn, Yates, and Bernal are the 3. It'll be one of those 3 today, I think.
Yep. I've got a few more questions coming in, comments as well. Scott McGrory, it's racing, fellas. Stuff them as long as you win, eh? That's a good point. Ian Page says, was barracking for Taco to get home last night. What's the mood in the team car when BikeExchange is not focused on the stage? Go, son. Probably should have brought that up when we had Whitey.
You probably should have.
Andy Matthews says it looks like the weather is not as bad as expected. So hopefully it isn't as bad as what Whitey was saying.
But evidently it's going to get worse, not better. So
yeah. And Sheila Richards says, I thought teams brought their own chefs. That's a good point. Sometimes they bring them on in the second half due to budgets as well. They don't always have them on for the entire thing. So they might be doing
Italy,
the same thing.
In the Tour de France, they always have their own chef for the whole tour. But in the Giro, they often don't take a chef or just take, as you say, part-time because they're so happy with the Italian food. So that's part of the difference.
And our old mate Wombat Breath says, looking forward to Simon's first proper hit out at the Giro tonight. Gents, any guesses as to when we might see the first head-to-head for Simon and Adam, maybe in the Vuelta?
I reckon it'll be the Vuelta. I reckon you're spot on.
Yep. And Andrew says, evening, lads. So g'day, Andrew, as well. Before we go to an interview that we pre-recorded with Stuart O'Grady and David McKenzie, let's have a quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange, Iffy.
While we're talking Bike Exchange, I better throw in that there's a big sale on. So for all of our Victorian listeners, even interstate, might be worth jumping on a plane. On Saturday, at Bike Exchange head office, they're having a continuation of the big sale that they've been having of the Green Edge excess stock. There it is, Green Edge outlet team issue sale. And so they've got a stack of beautiful brand new Scott frames for sale and a lot of other bits and pieces. Scott shoes, sunglasses, the beautiful Synchro handlebars and integrated handlebars and stems. Fantastic stuff. So get in there, it's 10 o'clock, Buckhurst Street, South Melbourne, or jump on the Bike Exchange website and get the exact address. But bargains galore.
All right. Guaranteed from Iffy himself. Now, as we mentioned earlier, we caught up with Stuart O'Grady and Dave McKenzie, and this is part 1 of the interview. Well, Iffy, we're joined by none other than Stuart O'Grady, race director for Tour Down Under, and Dave McKenzie, who's doing a stellar job with the commentary for SBS and the SBS Swift Cycling Central podcast. Fellas, I'll start with you, Macca. Geez, all the memories must have been flooding back when Taco crossed the line overnight, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Look, wasn't it a beautiful victory? And I think it doesn't matter where you sat in the cycling peloton throughout your career, or even as a fan or someone who works in the sport, but it was just a beautiful victory. And I don't think there was anyone that was unhappy that this guy won, Taco Van der Hoorn. Probably, maybe the guy who finished second on the stage was a little bit upset, but other than that, wasn't it just great? We all love to see an underdog victory. And for me, it was, it took me back a little bit, but I feel really privileged that obviously I got to ride up one Giro and then obviously win a stage, but to be able to commentate it last night and really enjoy it, it was sensational. It was such a good stage, wasn't it?
Well, Mac, I do remember your stage victory really well, and yours a little bit different to that. You were away alone for just about the whole day, whereas
Taco had 7 guys helping him. Come on.
Well, exactly. Yours is alone, but it was interesting. Here we go.
This is crossing the line. Solo.
Oh, vintage day helmet. Love it.
That's VHS. Did you grab that off a VHS tape, or
I just pirated it off YouTube, mate. Back to the old days.
Most of my career's in VHS.
I think the best, we ran this obviously last year for the Giro on the rest day, and the best is the celebration from the guy at the finish line. He was a tad excited.
Yeah, John Deering was our press officer. He almost rugby tackled me off. Chelsea had won, I think, the FA Cup final that afternoon. So he had his blue Chelsea shirt on.
Here he is.
Yeah, that was the most nervous I've been on stage after I crossed the line, actually. Hey, can I just say something, because it's actually quite amazing that we've got you here, Stewie. We were living in Toulouse, my wife and I, Susan, and we'd sort of moved down there because a lot of the Aussies had congregated down there. Stewie was one of those, and Jay Sweet, who was a good mate of mine at the time. And Stewie rang up Susan, my wife, I think a day or two later, and said, "Hey, come on, I'm going to come and pick you up. We're going to get you over for lunch or dinner and celebrate Dave's victory." And because she was on her own. And so you don't forget that sort of stuff, Stewie, but it was really nice. And, it was a victory for the Aussies. We're all riding on separate teams, but all the Aussies, you feel like you have a victory when another Australian wins wherever they are racing in the world,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we created a little community down there in Toulouse, and it was good that everyone kind of, pretty much any English-speaking person was welcome to come down to Toulouse and be a part of a pretty raging training group, and then, come and enjoy a barbecue after. So, any time an Australian succeeded, it didn't matter if it was on the grand stage or just on a domestic race. We all kind of got around each other and supported each other, because there was no family or friends to come and pat you on the back. There was no, giving mum and dad a hug, or, they were normally in a different time zone on a different hemisphere. So we really had to support each other, and it was fantastic. I mean, I'll never forget that win, Macca, as well. I mean, that was one of the good early ones, that's for sure.
Well, one-hit wonder.
Oh, mate, doesn't matter. They all count, and you're a part of many special occasions and many team wins, and you're a major player, a part of many other things. So it's always good for the nice guys to get a win up. That's for sure.
Well, you won one stage, Macca. How many stages did you win, Stewie, at the Giro?
Oh, 0, I think. I don't know.
There you go.
There we go.
All right. I think we're done here. Thanks, guys.
I've got to say, I've got the fondest memories of that house of yours in Toulouse. La Basse-Solez was the little name of a little town. Remember that? Yeah. Yep. And because it was like a bit of Australia. It was like an Aussie house, not a French house. It had a big yard, big pool. And we had, during the tour, we were over near Toulouse, we always stayed at your place. And I can remember Langy stayed in your bedroom, because you were in a hotel somewhere else, and you can remember in your spare room, sorry, and you remember all the jerseys everywhere. Not in your bedroom, sorry. Yeah. But I remember he was surrounded by all your jerseys, and he was wrapped. But I remember one big barbecue there, and you were racing in the tour, and you got special permission. You were allowed to come and join us for 15 minutes, because we had a big mob there. And I think about 3 hours later, whoever the guy dragged you out of that barbecue. So, I was very proud of you.
Yeah, and I had to try and get Emery to leave you guys out there about 3 days later, I think. Good times. Those special times in our lives, weren't they? They were great days.
Yeah, hey, a lot of people talk about current cycling, how it's just raced differently now, and the Giro was so old school, and guys like Chippo controlled the bunch. How was that allowed to happen, Stewie, back in those days? Was he just like an intimidating cat?
Well, it wasn't allowed to happen. That's just how it happened.
Right.
There was someone before Chippo, and probably someone before that person that controlled the bunch. I mean, I think back then it was just a very different style of racing. I think that there's one main connected to that whole issue, is that the live television didn't used to come on to the start. So, it might have been a 220, 240 kilometre stage. The live TV globally wouldn't come on for probably about the last 140, 150K. So until the cameras came out, certainly back in my first Giro, everyone just rolled along and chatted, and you're actually putting on weight for the first 100K. Well, that's how it felt. But then the final last 100, 150K was just warp speed. Obviously now with more of the live feed and the more, I guess, global commercialization of the sport and the publicity and the sponsors, there's a lot more importance in, getting a rider in those early breaks. I mean, for a lot of the right teams there that haven't got, well, exactly like last night, they haven't got a superstar, they haven't got a big name, they haven't got a GC contender. Every minute on television that's getting broadcast around the world is that's what the sponsor wants. That's all they're asking for, is their guys to go out there, and guys and girls, and get their name in front of the screens and get talked about. And not only did he do that, but then he went on to win it. So back then it was very different. Guys like Chippo just kind of took control and went, no, you're not attacking, and that's how it was. I mean, he kind of got yelled at, and otherwise he'd come up and whack you on the back of the head.
Well, that's right, because they've got the TV sprint, which they still call it the TV sprint, but that was actually the sprint that was the first part of the live telecast. So Chippo and the guys at that time would keep it together so you could go for that TV sprint, and then the race was on.
Yeah, he was very controlling back then, and that's just how it was. And obviously things changed. You still have someone that kind of drives the bus, as they call it. I'm not sure if Bernie Eisel was still doing that, or I'm pretty sure he's retired now, hasn't he? Surely. But there's always someone that's kind of controlling the group pedo and looking after things in a bit of a similar way. But yeah,
that was part one of the interview. Back in your day, Iffy, the Giro would have been raced differently. There was riders smoking at the start line, and it's just a free for all.
Well, there was only one dickhead doing that, but anyway, we won't go there. But look, it wasn't that different in that it was similar. The television, we never come back to Australia, of course, but the live television started around about halfway, and it would be that TV sprint, and we'd all be exactly that. But the first half, it was just riding along and having a chat. And I raced that very unfit, so it's what allowed me to get through, ride myself in. I wouldn't have liked to start one of the modern Giros with the lack of fitness I had back then, but it really hasn't changed that much.
But I'll tell you, a big change is how cycling's covered. Like back in those early days, like journalists were allowed to just write really good stories and insights and get coverage around that, whereas now it's very much clickbait, getting the little clicks and the little.
Well, social media, mate, that's changed the whole world, hasn't it? I mean, everyone's getting instant information, and plus they didn't have it near. They used to have helicopters, but they didn't have anywhere near the great coverage they have now. I mean, the vision we get at all of these events, the Tour de France, the Giro, the Vuelta, the classics, you feel like you're in the damn bike race. It's fantastic.
Now, Mac is obviously doing some great stuff with SBS and their commentary, so he's got some great insights on Stage 4, and obviously Stewie, with all his experience, he raises some very interesting points on how he thinks the stage is going to be played out. So let's have a look at part 2 of the interview. And what are your thoughts back on the Stage 4? It's obviously where the GC guys are going to sort of come to the front.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I sort of love these stages because we talk about the first little challenge for the GC guys, but an opportunist can still win the stage. So we've got this tipping comp at SBS, and if your tip the day before wins the day out of the other people who tipped, that means your last tip the next day, and you can't tip the same rider as anyone else. So it was a tough one. I had a shocker last night. I picked Caleb. I went sentimental, and I thought he got over the hills in San Remo. Yeah, so I bombed out badly. So I got an early tip. Kath Whelan, who you all know, she picked Yates, and I actually think he's a good tip. I picked Evenepoel. I picked Evenepoel. I think he might go for it tonight. But it's a hard one to pick, isn't it? An opportunist, a breakaway could win the day again. We spoke to Valerio Piva from Intermarché Wanty, the DS of the winner of last night. He said it was raining this morning where they were, and they're predicting quite a bit of rain for the stage. So I think it's going to be a tough day either way.
What do you reckon,
pouring
Stuart?
down. It's absolutely pouring down right now.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. I look at that stage and just go breakaway written all over it, because who's going to really want to try and control that for that amount of time? I think it'd be a massive waste of energy and resources for a team to ride to control it. I think this is the perfect opportunity for a breakaway to go up the road and get 5, 6, 7 minutes, and kind of palm the Melio Rosa over to someone else on a smaller team, and for the big guys to sit back, because the second and third week of this Giro, it's hardcore. It's really old school kind of Giro, big long stages, massive mountains. If I was a director, I certainly wouldn't want to be, shooting any more bullets today than I needed to be. So for me, I'd be happy as the Ineos director to, maybe just put a rider in the breakaway that wouldn't have to work. I think every team manager would be saying we have to have a rider in the breakaway, because you've got so much flat stuff before that really lumpy, yucky stuff at the end. So there's a lot of flat there for a group. I mean, they're going to go flat out for probably an hour, but then who's going to really want to ride and control that for the sake of one stage? I'm not sure. I'm going to go for the big breakaway day.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue
It does
with that.
make sense, doesn't it? I mean, like you'll have the whole 2 races in one. It'll be the race for the stage and the GC guys going for it, because I same as you, Macca. We were talking, Dan and I were talking just before we come on air, and I thought Evenepoel or Yates here, they were my 2 picks. But after listening to you, Stewie, wise old head of yours, we were also talking just before we went to air, but wise old head of yours, I don't know about that, but we see on Facebook you're about to be a dad again, mate. Big gap, number 4 on the way.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Johnny, for bringing that up. So, look, pretty excited after the initial shock, I think. It's what happens when you don't travel for 3-4 months of the year, hey? We're all pretty excited, and certainly my 2 young daughters who are 13 and 11, they're absolutely pumped. I mean, we all are. I guess looking back, I missed so much of my kids growing up, because I, like every other probably professional athlete, in my case, we're on the road for 200 days a year, so we missed a lot of birthdays, we missed a lot of everything. So I guess the one bonus out of being home this year with COVID is actually just being home with my family. So to bring another little human into the world, and to be home a lot more, and got a 17-year-old. We've got some live-in babysitters who will help us get through. It's pretty exciting.
Hey, now just so you know, Stewie, I was talking via satellite to Jens Voigt earlier. I think he's got 5 or 6 kids. He's heard the news. He's going back to the doctors to get the reversal done. He's getting nervous that he might catch him.
Well, we've got a little WhatsApp group with my old CSC teammates, and there's been a fair bit of banter over the airwaves, believe me. But Yenzi was pretty happy and was quite concerned that I was catching up to his little squadron. But I promised him we won't get any closer. But I've learned to say never.
Well, Stuart, you're going to have to do plenty of overtime to start building up the bankroll. How's TDU going, mate?
Yeah, look, we're all we're just continually planning and hoping that the world gets back to, I won't call it normality because it's not going to be normal for many years, but to a point where international travel and the COVID vaccine rollout has taken place a bit better, and the technology with the testing is improving week by week. So at the moment, I'm just busy planning for 2022, designing the best possible race I can, and we're just going to aim for that.
Any secrets you can tell us, mate? Anything groundbreaking about the course that you've snuck in that you can break today? Anything? No. Sorry, Johnny.
And Macca, for all the listeners to the Detour, they need to jump across and have a listen to this stellar podcast, the SBS Cycling Central podcast, brought to you by Zwift. How do they get on, mate?
Yes, they go via the Cycling Central Facebook page. That is the best place. You can go via the SBS Sport page as well. That's very kind of you, Jonesy. And Johnny, we had you on our pod. Dan, we haven't had you, so we'll have to get you on and Stewie. We've got 3 weeks, so I might drag you on at some point as well. But look, it's good fun, isn't it? And for all of us, we were just saying before we came on air here, we're desperate to get back to Europe, but isn't it nice that we can watch it on free to air? We're pretty happy that we've got it back on SBS. Let me tell you,
it's you guys do a fantastic job too.
Yeah. You guys know, as I said, we've got a great boss in Catherine Whelan who absolutely backs us all in, and she really drives it at head office at SBS.
And how's the body clock going at the moment?
It's wrecked. I'm bugging. Yeah. I need a few days
stage
off.
3, isn't it?
I know. Well, we're doing a 4:00 pod, and then we go live on air. But I'm not commentating all of the stages, so I'll actually be happy to have a few nights off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job, mate, and we appreciate you coming on the show. And same to you, Stewie, and all the best with the planning, mate. You got 8 months to probably less than that now. It's what 7, 6. You know what? You'll be sweet.
I'll be right. I think you're right. Yeah.
All good, mate. Thanks for coming on,
guys.
Yeah, that's great.
Jeez, that was an average question at the end there. That's what you call it.
You were spot on. It was 8 months. You got it right, and then you doubted yourself. But anyway, that's the way it goes.
No, but what I meant is when the baby arrived, you don't announce the baby till they're sort of 16 weeks. So that would mean that they've only got 6 months till the baby arrives.
I thought you were talking about till the tour down under. Oh, you're talking about the baby.
No, the baby.
Yeah, okay. I had no idea what you were talking about.
We've got a few more questions coming in. John Stevens, stage 3 Taco was available at 500 to 1 with the UK bookies. Oh, imagine having a pineapple on that iffy. That is juicy. Sheila's made a good point. She says, who is the protector for GB? That'd be George Bennett from TV coverage as his team is scattered through the peloton, confused group not around him. Jumbo Visma. Did you watch the stage, Johnny? Did you take any notice of that?
Yeah, look, I don't think it was a real dangerous stage for the GC guys yesterday, so I don't think they were too worried about it early on, especially. They were riding steady. And I think they probably would have been hoping Groenewegen could have gotten over those couple of hills. It would have been a great stage for him to go next up. But he got spat around about the same time as Caleb. So, which was I was very disappointed. I thought Caleb would be a Monty for that to get over those hills.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. And Nicole. Dan, you're getting in early with the Christmas lights behind you. It looks good. I think they went up in 2019 and they just never came down because it adds charm. Lots of charm, like off the castle. Now, before we go, I saw in the news, Johnny, that Bradley Wiggins is going to release a documentary, he says, next year, and he's going to it's going to follow the 10 years from winning yellow. So obviously that was in 2012. But if he gets the one wood out, that's going to be riveting, I think.
Well, he loves the one wood, but he can slice and hook with it, so it can go any bloody where. But I think he's got a bit to say. There's been a lot of reference to the whole to the sky, the jiffy bag, all these things. A lot of them, innuendo against Bradley and others, and I think he just wants to jump out and straighten things out a little bit, let people know. But I got a lot of time for Bradley Wiggins. He's a different cat. As you well know, I was mates with his father. He was from my hometown. He was actually best mates with my younger brother. My dad started him racing. I remember him right through his career. I lived around the corner from him in Belgium when he was just a youngster coming up. He became one of the top 6-day riders. And I remember Bradley as a baby, 6 months old, 7 months old, at a party at our place in Belgium. Him and my young bloke, Dean, who were the same age, having a fight, a wrestle as babies on the ground. And Bradley just steamrolled him. I thought, ooh, it's a tough young character here, as he's proven to be. But he is sensational. Not many riders have been able to come from being one of the world's great all-round track riders. He was the number one pursuiter in the world, team's pursuiter, and then come on and then win the Tour de France. So it was a pretty amazing career. I know he desperately wanted to win Parabay. He set himself for that 1 year. Couldn't quite get there. So, but I look forward to it. And his commentary he does on telly now is very good. Whenever you get a chance to hear him, he's straight to the point. He doesn't mess around. So it should be good.
Yep. No, I'll be looking forward to that. And if you're watching this, Bradley, which I'm sure you are, and you need a director, mate, let's talk turkey. I'll do it for chicken feed. So anyway, who's your prediction, Johnny? Who do you think's going to win the stage?
I disagree with Stewie. I think the fact that it is 40K, not 40K, 70K of headwinds on the flat section, I don't think they'll be able to get that. Look, a break will go, and they'll get 5 or 6 minutes, but I don't think they'll be able to hold it through 100 and something K of that really steep climbing country. There are going to be terrible conditions out there as well. I'd be surprised if they stay away. So I'll go. The big three for me are Simon Yates. I think Simon can actually, it's a perfect type of climb for him, but also Evenepoel and Bernal are the three. They'll be fighting it out. But also, what's the young fella, Yoe Almeida, the other teammate of Interconnect Quickstep, the Portuguese.
Now, I obviously don't ride. How does a 30K an hour block headwind affect the chances of a breakaway getting to the line?
Well, it means it's a lot harder. The say 8 or 9 bike rides get up the road, it won't be too bad. But a small break, if it's only 4 or 5, you've got a headwind. It's so much harder. You're coming through all the time. It's so much more pressure. So it's much harder for a breakaway in a headwind. Tailwind, they all feel like Eddie Merckx. They're down the road and they're feeling great.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going to be an interesting stage. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. We're going to be 7:30 again tomorrow night because of logistics. And we've got Phil Liggett coming on tomorrow night, Johnny.
We have Phil. I just texted him to say we're going to be a little bit later. He said, "All good. Looking forward to it." I just want to finish with because I didn't talk a lot about it, but I was so impressed with Taco, as I say, Van der Hoorn's ride yesterday, because he started the break at 30K to go. They had him in train. They weren't going anywhere. They only had a minute and a bit. At 10K to go, down to 30 seconds, he went alone at 5K to go, and there was no way he was going to hold him off, with Bora screaming down to close it for Sagan, but they couldn't do it. It was an impressive effort after being out there all day to do that. Hats off to Taco.
Do you think you could go back to Baker and make it Taco Tuesdays?
Someone's already come up with that one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's average.
Ching.
Yeah. All right. Real average way to finish the show. Anyway.
Sometimes, as they say in the classics, sometimes the bull wins.
This is the winning ride of the Tour de France.